I'm going to be brutally honest, I don't always need a shock horror, someone apologised, someone didn't apologise headline to be interested in a story or an area of politics or life in New Zealand. And I do want to say this, we are a trading nation. And while inflation is coming down, we've still got some economic headwinds. And the way New Zealand has in the past and will in the future ensure and enhance its prosperity is by trading. By selling the stuff we make, and we make better than other people, and that's primary produce largely, though technology increasingly and intellectual property increasingly. By selling that stuff internationally, that's how we secure the future of New Zealand. And I know this government has been looking at some new areas to develop trade in, and I wanted to get an update from our Minister of Trade, Todd McClay, who joins us now. Minister, welcome to the program. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Sean, good morning. Thanks for having me on.
You're quite hard to get hold of because you have been doing an awful lot of travelling.
Well, yeah, that rumour's going around. I'm actually in New Zealand more than I'm away, and I've just had 6 or 7 weeks out and about rural New Zealand. The farmers are doing it tough, but we're talking about all the things we're doing to make it easier for them because we need rural New Zealand strong. However, very different than the last government. When we do go overseas, whether it's the Prime Minister, Chris Luxon, Winston or I, we're working hard to deliver for Kiwis.
All right. You've been spending a bit of time up in India. Where are we at there?
Yeah, look, we're making really good progress, but we're still a way away from me being able to say confidently when we might be able to launch a negotiation. You know, over the 5 or 6 years of the last government, that relationship with India was underdone. And so Chris Luxon last year during the campaign and subsequently as Prime Minister has said our relationship with India is a strategic priority for the government. We're going to invest in all parts of it, including trade. And, you know, if you think about it, the challenge we've got as a trading nation is we just show up to, you know, a country like India with 1.4 billion people and say, hey, we're New Zealand, can we sell you some stuff? Well, everybody's trying to do that. But I've been up there 5 or 6 times, or had 5 or 6 meetings with my counterpart, been to India 3 times, and the relationship is growing, it's positive. We saw the Indian president visit New Zealand, which is significant. She could have gone anywhere. And Modi, their Prime Minister, invited Chris Luxon to visit next year, a personal invitation. So, you know, we're putting in the hard yards on behalf of New Zealand, but we've still got to keep working because, you know, that relationship was in a perilous state when we came to government.
All right. What is the current state of our trade relationship with India? What barriers do we face and what barriers would we like to remove?
Yeah, well, largely they are tariff rates. India has very high tariff rates. So if you take lamb or wine as an example, for Kiwi lamb farmers to sell into the Indian market, they face up to a 40% tariff rate. Now, Australia, during COVID, got off their chuffs. They visited, you know, they didn't lock themselves down completely, and they negotiated a deal, and their lamb goes in at a 0 tariff rate. So ours is better than theirs, but at a 40% tariff at the border, it's very hard to sell New Zealand products in there. Wine's another good example. You know, New Zealand wine, resoundingly, every single bottle better than Australians, right? Except we face a 150% tariff rate, and theirs has gone down to about 75%. It will keep falling.
Why are they giving the Aussies a better deal than us?
Well, because Australia invested in that relationship. They visited them, they went to see them, they invited them to Australia, and they put the effort in during COVID. You know, remarkably, Australia negotiated an FTA with India during their lockdowns. We stayed at home, right? So the point of this is, you know, we're focusing on that. The second thing is just barriers to trade, rules. And when I first went up there before Christmas, you know, within a month of forming a government, one of the things was blocked is our log trade into India. We were able to unstick that, and so the logs are going back in, about $300 million a year worth of trade it used to be. So whilst we continue to invest in the relationship, look towards, when we might be able to have a formal negotiation. Both sides are doing everything possible to get those barriers down so that we can sell backwards and forwards. And I've got to say, my trade counterpart, Minister Goyal, there in India, he and I have formed a very respectful relationship. And as when issues come up, we reach out to each other and look for ways to fix it rather than, just leaving it to our officials.
Is India the big prize for this administration for you as Trade Minister? Is that the biggest relationship we're trying to improve? Or potentially the most beneficial?
Yeah, look, I think it is one of the most important for our future of trade, but so are very many others. China is still our largest economic relationship. It's a very important economic relationship. There's still big potential in trade there, but we want a China and strategy. We want to trade with China and the UK and the EU and the US and India and the UAE, which, we did a trade deal with in record time, 4.5 months. There are a few others there as well, but to secure New Zealand's future and give us, our exporters, options as to where they want to put their products, India is a big part of that picture, yes.
You mentioned China as our biggest, economic partner, some would say, and the United States. There has been suggestion and speculation that as we decide where we stand, and this is contentious in a modern world and geopolitically, and particularly Pillar 2 AUKUS, that the Americans might be prepared to give us some trade concessions if we are more aligned with them via AUKUS and if we get off the fence on where we sit in the South Pacific or in our part of the world.
Well, look, let's wait and see. As far as
are you not denying that the Americans might cut us a trade deal in return for being more involved in AUKUS?
Well, no, what I was going to say is let's wait and see. And as far as AUKUS is concerned, the government will make the decision that's best for New Zealand. We have an independent foreign policy. We won't do it for trade. We'll look at what's best for us. And then whenever a decision might or might not be made, we'll make that case to New Zealanders. However, you are correct, though, that actually the relationship with America is a very strong one. We don't have a trade agreement with them. We had that old TPP, which Donald Trump pulled out of. Since then, our trade has increased. You'll see a lot of ministers up there in the new year, senior ministers, once we have a new administration in America. Trade is important to New Zealand. We're a nation that, we only do well when we sell goods and services overseas, but we should only do what's right for New Zealand. We shouldn't be doing trade deals we shouldn't be making foreign policy decisions just for trade, but also got to be aware that, everything has an implication.
The American election only a couple of weeks to go away. Who knows what happens there? That's up to the Americans. Yeah. Would one outcome or t'other damage or enhance our trading chances or relationship with the United States? And I'd say that my perception is that Trump is more protectionist and less open to international trade than a Democratic or a Harris administration might be.
Yeah, look, I think both candidates and their parties are inward-looking at the moment, so the prospects are not great for them to play a big role internationally when it comes to trade. There's this a number of agreements called IPEF that America started a while ago. I was up in Singapore earlier this year where we signed a few of them. They're more to do with investment and green technology and stuff like that, but there is a trade pillar. A Harris administration is likely to go ahead with that, and although it wouldn't be a high-quality deal, it includes about 14 other countries, it would be a start of one.